The sink wouldn't drain. That's what started it. Just some gurgling sound and a bit of backflow. No big deal, right? You plunge it, maybe pour down some baking soda and vinegar, curse under your breath like it's doing something. But then I opened the cabinet beneath to check the pipes. That's when I saw it. A necklace. Her necklace. The silver one with the tiny heart pendant I gave her on our 5th anniversary. It was hooked around the base of the drain pipe, dangling like it had just fallen off. Except here's the thing. She never uses the guest bathroom. It's always been mine. My little hideaway for when she's doing her skincare routine in the master bathroom for an hour. She even joked once that it smelled like printer ink and peanut butter. So she avoided it like the plague. And yet, her necklace was down there, still damp. I stood there, crouched under the sink, just staring at that delicate chain like it was a weapon. And maybe it was. My stomach tightened. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I pulled it free, dried it with the towel hanging nearby, and just sat on the floor. The tiles were freezing. Or maybe it was just me. Voices started echoing in my head. Not real ones, not yet. Just questions. Too many of them too fast. Why was it here? When did she lose it? Who was she with? Was he in this room? In this house? In my house? I didn't go confront her. I didn't shout. I didn't even walk upstairs. I just sat there with that necklace in my palm, wondering how long I've been living like a blindfolded idiot. The next morning, I didn't mention it. I placed the necklace on her nightstand. I wanted to see if she'd say anything at all. Maybe a gasp, a thank you, a lie. She said nothing, not a word. Instead, she got ready for work like it was any other Wednesday. She even hummed. That's when I knew something was wrong. Not just she lost her necklace wrong. This was deeper. This was hiding in plain sight wrong. This was betrayal disguised as routine. I've never cheated, never even flirted. I once got flustered when a barista called me handsome and spilled hot coffee on myself. That's the kind of guy I am. So why the hell was my bathroom someone else's hiding place? I've got cameras now. Not everywhere. Just one hidden in the laundry room. I picked the laundry room because she never folds there. She carries the clothes out. Always. Suspicious. Maybe. I never questioned it until now. 2 nights later, I stayed late in the garage pretending to work on that busted old fan she keeps asking me to throw out. I wasn't fixing it. I was listening. Listening for footsteps, patterns, anything, and watching. I had my phone in my hand, connected to the hidden laundry room Kim I'd installed that morning behind the basket shelf between 2 dusty boxes of holiday lights we never put up. She told me she was going to bed early, said she had a migraine coming on. That's usually code for don't bother me. No kiss goodnight, no small talk, just a closed door and silence. Or so I thought. Around 11:26 p.m. I saw it. My phone buzzed once. Motion detected. The screen lit up and there she was, Iona, wearing that robe I hate. The silky maroon one that looks like it belongs in a magazine, not in our cluttered house with unmatched socks and fridge magnets shaped like pickles. She wasn't carrying laundry. She was carrying her phone and a throw blanket. She looked around before stepping inside the laundry room like it was a vault. Then she crouched down right in front of the shelf where the camera was hidden and pulled something from behind the dryer. A small plastic bag. I paused the footage, zoomed in. My chest tightened. It was a burner phone. I swear I felt the air leave my lungs in that moment. My knees buckled even though I was just sitting on a stool next to an old fan that never worked. She had hidden a whole second phone in our house, not in a drawer, not in a locked box, but behind the dryer, a place I hadn't cleaned in years. I unpaused. She sat down on the floor, leaned against the machine and started typing, smiling. Then she laughed. I hadn't heard her laugh like that in months. Not with me, not over anything I said or did. But there she was, softly giggling in the dark under laundry room light, sending messages to God knows who. After maybe 10 minutes, she put the phone back in the bag, wiped it down with her sleeve. Who thinks to wipe down their own burner phone? And tucked it away again behind the dryer. She stood up, smoothed her hair, glanced at herself in the dryer door like it was a mirror, and walked out. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even move. I just sat there holding my phone like it was a loaded weapon, watching the footage on loop, rewinding every second, watching her face, her body language, that casual confidence like she's done this before. And then I started asking the real questions. Has she used that phone in the house before? Was that her first time pulling it out? Or just the first time I caught it on camera? Who is she texting that makes her laugh like a teenager? And this one kills me. Has he been here in this house, under my roof using my towels? The next morning, I followed her routine like a shadow. I didn't say much. I didn't accuse her. I offered to make her coffee. I folded her scarf when she dropped it. I kissed her on the cheek when she left for work. I played the doting husband. As soon as she drove off, I ran to the laundry room. My hands were sweating. I pulled out the dryer, heart pounding like a marching drum. And there it was, just like I saw on the footage. A clear Ziploc hidden between the vent tubing and the wall, with that same beat-up burner phone inside. I stared at it. Didn't touch it at first, just stared. I should have gone through it right then and there, but I didn't. I was afraid. Not of the phone, of the answers. What if it wasn't just flirting? What if there were photos, messages, plans? What if everything I believed for the last 12 years was nothing but staged affection? I'm not a brave man. I don't storm into rooms and demand confessions. I avoid conflict so much that I once apologized to a vending machine for not having the right change. That's who I am. So instead of checking the phone, I did what I always do when I'm overwhelmed. I panicked, shoved it back in its spot, and closed the door. But later that day, I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront her, not yet. I was going to make her think everything was fine. I was going to give her all the space she needed to keep making mistakes, and then I'd catch every single one because something deeper is going on here. And this was just the beginning. The day I finally read the messages on that phone, the house was quieter than usual. You know, the kind of silence that feels staged, like it's waiting to be broken. The kind of silence where even your own footsteps sound intrusive. That morning, I faked a dentist appointment, told Brianna I needed to get a crown checked out. She barely glanced up from her makeup mirror and said, "Hope it's not cracked all the way through." That line hit different after everything I'd been discovering. I couldn't tell if she was talking about my tooth or our marriage. The moment her car disappeared around the bend of our street, I bolted to the laundry room. I didn't hesitate this time. I didn't pace around her or second-guess myself. I yanked the dryer out like it owed me answers. The plastic bag was still there, nestled between lint balls and neglected intentions. I pulled out the phone. My hands were clammy again, but I forced myself to focus. It was old. No lock screen, which either meant she was careless or confident. Probably both. The screen lit up with a single tap. The first thing I saw was the wallpaper, a photo of the ocean, but not just any ocean. I recognized it. It was a shot from our trip to Cape May 5 years ago. I took that picture. She had cropped me out of it. There were only 2 apps on the phone, Messages and Calculator. The Calculator was a fake, one of those secret vault apps people use to hide things. I didn't even open that one yet. I started with Messages. The contact name read D, just a single letter, somehow more gut-wrenching than a full name. The thread was long, hundreds of messages, flirty, bold, shameless. not a trace of guilt. I scrolled and read, D. Mistress sent last night. Still thinking about the way your hair got stuck in my zipper, Lalo. Rihanna, that was your fault, face. Blowing kiss. But you did make it up to me twice before I even got out of the car. I stopped breathing. Literally had to remind myself to inhale. I read more. They joked about me, about my hobbies, my stupid obsession with old records. My low voice that she once said helped her sleep. She told him she pretends to be tired just to avoid conversations with me. She told him I wouldn't even notice if she stopped sleeping in the same bed for a week. She said, I tiptoe around confrontation like a dog that's been hit before. That one broke me. Because it's true. I don't like conflict. I avoid it. I bury things. I always thought I was being kind. Thought that's what good husbands did. But to her I was spineless, a character to mock while she soaked in someone else's attention in our driveway, in our house, in my home. Then I saw a photo. It was taken in our guest bathroom mirror, the same bathroom where I found the necklace. She was half-dressed, grinning, holding up that stupid robe like she was modeling for a cheap Cadillac. And in the background, the toilet seat was up. I hadn't used that bathroom in days, which meant he had been in our house. I didn't just lose her emotionally. She had physically brought him here under my roof, into the place. I scrubbed, paid for, protected, and I hadn't even sensed the draft coming in. I sat on the floor of that laundry room for nearly 40 minutes, phone in hand, reading every single line of betrayal like it was scripture. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. My whole body just went numb. Like every nerve decided to shut off at once. Like grief short-circuited my humanity. I took photos of everything. The texts, the images, the timestamps. I sent them to a secret folder on my cloud drive labeled Gutter. And then out of some warped sense of guilt, I put the phone back exactly where I found it because I wasn't ready for her to know I knew. Not yet. See, Brianna thinks I'm stupid. She thinks I'll never catch on. That I'll keep quietly folding the laundry while she orchestrates her little romance behind dryer vents and burner phones. But I'm done being passive. I'm done pretending this is normal. I don't know what I'll do next. I don't have some master revenge plan. I'm not built like that. But I do know this. The man I was before I picked up that phone, he's gone. Something cracked open. And now I'm watching everything. I don't know what I expected to happen after reading those messages. Maybe I thought the walls would collapse. Maybe I imagined some cosmic force would intervene, make the truth explode in her face while I stood there vindicated, holding the receipts. But nothing like that happened. The sun came up just like it always does. My toothbrush was still damp. The dog still barked at squirrels. And Brianna still kissed me on the forehead like a man she hadn't emotionally vacated months ago. It was surreal how good she was at acting. The kind of good that comes from long practice. I kept playing my part too. Not because I forgave her or didn't care, but because I wanted to see how far she was willing to take it. How much lies she could pack into a smile. I studied her every move. What time she left the house. What clothes she wore. How long she lingered in the driveway before driving off. I started tracking everything like some sad amateur detective. I even took notes in a new notebook I labeled Inventory. I wasn't looking for closure. I was looking for patterns. Then came Friday night. She said she was going to her friend Kelsey's place for wine and venting. Apparently Kelsey had just broken up with her latest Tinder tragedy, and Brianna, ever the loyal confidant, was going to just listen and eat cheese. I nodded, pretending to be half asleep on the couch. She kissed me lightly and left, grabbing that tan handbag she only uses when she goes somewhere she thinks I wouldn't follow. I waited exactly 7 minutes after the garage door closed before I moved. But I didn't follow her. Not yet. I walked through the house slowly, silently, just observing. I opened drawers. I sniffed pillows. I looked under the couch. I don't know what I thought I'd find. I just needed to make her absence feel real. And then, from the hallway near the back of the house, I heard something faint. A click, then the softest laugh. It stopped me cold. No one else was supposed to be home. I stood still, listening harder. Nothing. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe it was the neighbor's TV bleeding through the wall. I walked toward the sound anyway, past the coat closet to the door we never used. It led to the small crawl space under the stairs. We used to keep old luggage in there. I hadn't opened it in years. But this time, the door was slightly ajar. My fingers shook as I reached for the knob. It creaked open, and what I saw made my stomach flip. There was a light inside, a soft glow from a battery-powered lantern. The luggage had been moved, shoved to the sides. In the center, a small camping chair, a blanket, a coffee thermos, and on the wall, taped up like some secret shrine or pages, printed messages, screenshots, lyrics, even what looked like a menu from a diner 2 towns over. I stepped closer. At the top of it all, scrolled in her unmistakable handwriting, were the words, "Where I get to be me, I wanted to vomit." This wasn't just an affair. This was a whole life. A compartment she carved out inside the home we built together. A hidden corner of the house where she played pretend. A place where I didn't exist. I looked at the blanket. It was our picnic blanket, the same one we used at the lake last summer. She had folded it carefully like it was sacred. There was even a tiny heart doodled on the inside tag, one she drew years ago when she said, "This will be our forever blanket." Now it was his. I couldn't breathe in there. The air felt humid with betrayal. I backed out slowly, careful not to touch anything. I closed the door and leaned against the wall. My legs were jelly. I slid to the floor and just sat there. I didn't cry. I was past tears. I felt displaced, like a stranger in a museum dedicated to a life I thought I was part of. By the time she got home, a little after midnight, I was back on the couch with a blanket over me and a movie paused on the TV. She walked in, cheeks flushed, and kicked off her shoes like a teenager. She looked at me and smiled. "Still up?" I nodded, barely. "How's Kelsey?" Rihanna rolled her eyes dramatically. "A mess. She's going through it. We didn't even finish the wine. Just talked and cried. You know how it is." Yeah, I knew. Just not the way she thought. I nodded again, then fake yawned. "Glad you were there for her." She kissed me on the forehead again. "Always," she whispered. I watched her disappear into the bedroom, watched the door close, and then I stared at the wall across from me for what felt like hours. I'm not strong. I don't have some grand revenge fantasy, but something inside me has started changing. The kind of change that doesn't scream. It simmers. Slow, controlled, patient. And I think I'm finally ready to use it. The next few days were like walking through an emotional war zone with a blindfold on. I started noticing details I'd ignored for years, like how Brana always left the bedroom window cracked open a little too wide, not for air, but maybe for sound, or how she started locking her phone at night when she used to leave it charging on the kitchen counter. Small things. But when you see the rod under the paint, everything starts looking like decay. I didn't want to explode. I didn't want to go nuclear and wreck the house in some show of masculine bravado. That's not who I am. Truth is, I've never raised my voice in this house. Not once. I'm the type of guy who says sorry when someone bumps into me at the grocery store. But this was starting to eat at me in ways I couldn't silence anymore. So, I did something strange. Something I don't even fully understand. I wrote a note. Not a dramatic confession or an ultimatum. Just 3 words printed neatly on a piece of notebook paper. Does he know? That's it. No signature, no date. Just those words. I folded it 3 times and tucked it beneath the picnic blanket she had in her hidden crawlspace shrine. The same blanket where she apparently escapes into her fantasy life with Dee. I figured he might see it the next time he came over. Maybe while they were curled up sipping coffee from the thermos I bought her last Christmas, reading each other poetry or whatever the hell they do down there. But 2 nights later I heard her scream. It was around 10:45 p.m. I was in the garage again pretending to organize my ancient screwdriver collection when I heard something crash inside the house. Then footsteps fast once. The door flung open and Brianna stood there breathless, holding the note. She didn't say a word at first, just stared at me like I'd pulled a knife. "Where did you find this?" she finally demanded, her voice cracking in that specific way it does when she's caught, but hasn't yet decided how to spin the story. I stared back at her, playing dumb. "What is it? This?" She shook it in the air like it was poison. "This was under the blanket in the crawl space. Why were you in there?" I shrugged, letting the silence build. "I heard something the other night. Thought we had rats again. Figured I'd check." She blinked at me, unsure if she should be relieved or terrified. "So, you what? Just happened to leave a mysterious note?" I wiped my hands with a rag. I didn't leave anything. That froze her. She looked at me harder now, searching for clues on my face. I kept it blank. I didn't blink. I didn't look away. I just let her stew in the idea that maybe, just maybe, someone else had found her little secret. She stormed off, the note still clutched in her hand. And that's when I realized something important. She wasn't scared because I might know. She was scared because someone else might know. I know. And suddenly the whole game shifted. That night she stayed up later than usual. I could hear her pacing. At one point, I walked into the kitchen and caught her dumping what looked like shreds of notebook paper into the garbage disposal. She smiled when she saw me and said, "Just cleaning up clutter. Been meaning to do this for weeks." I nodded. "You've always been good at keeping things tidy." The next morning, the crawl space was empty. The chair, the thermos, the blanket, everything gone, like it had never existed. But here's the thing about cleaning up a crime scene. No matter how good you are, you always leave something behind. I found it the next day wedged behind the water heater, a receipt from a gas station 3 towns over. It was for 2 coffees, 2 sandwiches, and a pack of mitts. Paid in cash. Time-stamped 11:12 p.m. on a night she told me she was staying late to close the books for quarter end. It wasn't much, but it was enough. I've stopped pretending I don't know. Not to myself. I still haven't confronted her directly. I'm not sure I ever will. Not in the way people expect. What would that even look like? Me raising my voice for the first time ever. Me tossing plates like in those dramatic breakup movies. No, that's not me. That's not my power. My power is in observation, in collecting, in preparing. Because if she thinks I'm going to disappear quietly while she rewrites history, she's more delusional than I thought. And the part that chills me most? I'm not even angry anymore. I'm ready. A week passed, a long, strange week where everything felt off balance, like the house was tilted ever so slightly and all the furniture was starting to slide. Biona began acting different. Not guilty, not exactly distant either, just watchful. She'd stop mid-sentence to study my face. She'd reach for her phone and then change her mind. She even started making dinners again, as if seasoning chicken breasts could erase everything she'd hidden in the walls of this place. I played along, smiled when she made that horrible mushroom risotto, laughed when she made a joke about my flannel shirts. I let her think she still had the upper hand. But inside, I was unspooling, slowly, quietly, preparing. And then, something happened that knocked the breath out of me harder than anything else so far. It was Sunday morning. I told her I was going to Home Depot for a new wrench I didn't need. She said she might go for a drive, clear her head. No problem. I told her, take your time. She smiled, kissed me on the temple like I was her old dog, and grabbed her keys. I didn't drive anywhere. I stayed, hid in the garage with the side door cracked just enough to see our driveway. At first, I thought she really had left, but then I saw her car still idling in front of our neighbor's hedges. The angle was just off enough that I couldn't see who was inside. I crept along the side of the house, part tutuing like a schoolboy sneaking out past curfew, and crouched near the trash bins. That's when I heard it. Her voice low but too sharp to mistake. He doesn't suspect anything. Not really. He snooped a little, but I covered it. It's fine. A man's voice followed, muffled but deep, calm, confident. You sure? He found the crawl space. Bri, that's not nothing. My stomach tightened into a knot so hard I thought I might vomit. He was here. He'd been here. That was his voice, his calm assurance slicing through the humid summer air like a blade. Then I heard her laugh, and I swear I'll never forget how casual it sounded, like she was discussing weekend plans. Like all of this was just a harmless game. I'm telling you, she said. Felix couldn't blow up if he tried. He'd write me a poem before he ever raised his voice. They both laughed at me. Something broke right then. I stayed crouched, sweating, teeth clenched, listening as they made plans for it next weekend. She told him to use the burner less often now. He's jumpier lately, she said, like he's growing a backbone. They talked for almost 12 minutes, and then, just like that, he got out of her car and disappeared down the sidewalk, slipping into another vehicle parked 2 blocks away. She stayed another minute, fixed her hair in the rear view, and pulled back into the driveway like nothing happened. I returned to the kitchen a full 5 minutes before she walked in, pretended I was on the phone with my brother. She kissed my cheek and said, "Wrench mission successful." I nodded. Home Depot was packed. Took forever. She laughed. It always is on Sundays. That night I barely slept, not because of what she said, but because of what it confirmed. Everything I'd suspected. The crawl space, the burner phone, the hidden life. It wasn't just about sneaking around. It was worse. She didn't just betray me, she dismissed me, reduced me to a character in her personal soap opera, some harmless fool in a flannel shirt who'd never fight back. And maybe she's right. Maybe I'm not the type to confront someone in a screaming match. I'm not going to hack her accounts or send dramatic texts, but that doesn't mean I'm going to let this continue. So, I started making copies. I printed everything. The texts, the receipts, the photos, the screenshots from the camera feed. I even transcribed the conversation I overheard in the driveway. Line by line, word for word. I put it all in a manila folder and labeled it for when. When, what, I don't know yet. When I break, when I decide to leave. When I need to show someone who she really is. I just know I need to be ready because this isn't just about a cheating wife anymore. It's about a woman who crafted a lie so comfortably that she forgot the lie could still be broken. And I might be slow. I might be soft, but I'm not made of glass. It's strange how quickly fear evolves into clarity. After a while, The panic stops sounding like a fire alarm and starts sounding more like a quiet hum. Always there, steady, like background noise in your bloodstream. That's where I was, living in a hum, holding it together just enough to function, still pretending everything was fine, like some off-Broadway actor who never gets to leave the stage. The folder I put together, the one I labeled for when, had become my anchor. Every time I felt myself slipping, I'd go into the garage, unlock the filing cabinet. I tucked it inside and flipped through the pages like scripture. My proof, my reality, the part of me that still knew I wasn't crazy, that I hadn't imagined it all. Except on Tuesday morning. It was gone. I don't mean misplaced, I mean gone. The key was still in my pocket. The cabinet wasn't forced open, but the folder, all those pages, all that evidence, had disappeared without a trace. I stood there in the garage, staring at the empty drawer like someone had removed my spine. I tore the place apart, checked every box, every drawer, every shelf, like maybe I'd been sleepwalking and moved it somewhere else, but no, it was just not there. And for a few minutes I truly thought I might lose it. I stumbled back into the house, dizzy and panicking, and found Brianna in the kitchen humming as she poured oat milk into her smoothie blender like nothing had happened. She turned when she saw me and tilted her head. "You okay? You look pale." I wanted to ask her. I wanted to demand the truth, but something in her expression made me pause. Not fear, not guilt, something colder, calculation. Like she already knew what I was thinking. So I lied. "Didn't sleep much." She smiled. "You should really try magnesium. I keep telling you." And then she turned on the blender and drowned out my entire world in a vortex of spinach in silence. The rest of the day, I was a ghost in my own house. I didn't talk much, didn't eat. My brain kept circling the same question. Who took the folder? Was it her? Did she find the cabinet unlocked once? Or did she pick the lock? Did she go through every page? Did she read what I'd written about her voice in the driveway? About her secret room? Did she show it to him? Or was it someone else entirely? Later that night, after she'd fallen asleep or pretended to, I did something I never thought I'd do. I texted my sister, Nell. We hadn't spoken in almost a year. Biona never liked her, said she was too nosy, which is rich, considering. But Nell and I used to be close, the kind of close where she could tell something was wrong even through a 2-word message. I didn't tell her everything, just said, "Do you remember what you told me about Brianna 3 years ago?" "I think you were right." She replied 3 minutes later, "I knew it. Want me to come over?" I said no, not yet. But I asked her to help me do something big, something final. The next day I bought a new phone. I didn't tell Bria. I paid in cash. I used it to create a private email account and sent copies of everything I could remember from the original folder to Nell. I recreated the timeline, the texts, the receipt from the gas station, the transcript from the conversation I overheard. I even drew a rough map of the crawlspace and described the shrine in detail. I sent it all to her with the subject line, "If anything happens." And for the first time in weeks, I felt a flicker of control, like the ground beneath me had stopped shifting for just a moment. But that flicker didn't last because that night something else happened. I woke up around 3 a.m. to the sound of whispering. Not Brianna, not even from our room. It was coming from downstairs. I crept down the hallway barefoot, every board creaking louder than it should. When I reached the bottom of the stairs, I stopped cold. The guest bathroom light was on. The door was slightly ajar. And there, reflected in the mirror, was a man's silhouette. Not his face, just his arm. Thick, tan, muscular. He was reaching for something near the sink. Then, just like that, the light clicked off. I backed away slowly, hard in my throat. I didn't breathe until I was back in my room. I didn't tell Brianna, not the next morning, not the one after that. Because if she's bringing him into the house again at night, then this isn't a secret anymore. This is a threat, a dare. And if that's how she wants to play it, then so be it. She thinks she's in control, but she doesn't know what I've already set in motion. I didn't sleep much the night I saw him in the mirror, or maybe I did, in short haunted stretches, waking up each time with a pounding heart and a dry throat, as if my body was warning me not to get too comfortable. But by dawn, something had shifted. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even afraid. I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Clear. When you've been lied to for long enough, you start to lose your sense of direction. North feels like south. Daylight looks artificial. And worst of all, you begin to doubt your own instincts. But that morning, I woke up knowing exactly what I needed to do. Not in a rage, not for revenge, but for peace. Biona was still asleep, curled on her side like she always did when she wanted to look small and harmless. I watched her for a moment, not with bitterness, not even with love, just with the kind of detached sorrow you feel when something you treasured has quietly died. I didn't leave a note. Not at first. I packed a single suitcase, grabbed my spare documents, and left the house through the back door, locking it gently behind me, like I was afraid of waking a child. The air was sharp and clean, and for the first time in years it didn't feel like I was walking out of my own life. It felt like I was walking back into it. I stayed with Nell for a while. She didn't ask questions at first. She just made me coffee, gave me a blanket, and let me sit on her porch in silence. After 2 days, I told her everything, and she didn't say, "I told you so." She just listened. It took Biona 3 days to call. At first, she didn't even sound angry, just confused, as if it hadn't occurred to her that I could actually leave, that I, the quiet man with the soft voice and slower heartbeat, could vanish. When I didn't answer, she texted, then emailed, then left a voicemail. "Felix, where are you? This isn't funny." I didn't respond. Not yet. I waited until I knew she'd returned home from work, the same home she once used as a hiding place for secrets. Then I sent her one single message. It contained a link. Inside was everything. Every copy I'd made, every message, every photo, the transcript of the conversation in the driveway, even a note at the end. Not cruel, not angry, just quiet. "You built your second life in the shadows of our first. I won't be part of either anymore." I don't know how long she stared at it, but I do know that at 3:17 a.m. she called again, and this time she didn't sound confused. She sounded broken. I didn't pick up because here's the truth. I didn't leave to hurt her. I left to find me. And the more time I spent outside that house, outside the whispering, the second phones, the staged smiles, the more I remembered who I used to be, who I could still become. I started therapy, not because I was falling apart, but because I finally had space to build something new. I started jogging in the mornings. My body still creaked like old floorboards, but it moved. It wanted to move. And for the first time in a decade, I bought new clothes that I actually liked, not just what Briona used to pick out for me. And you know what surprised me most? Laughter. Real sharp, unscripted laughter. It came from small places, bad sitcoms, Nell's dog chasing its tail, strangers mispronouncing my name at the coffee shop. But it was mine, and no one was watching to see if I was still playing my part, because I wasn't. I was done playing anything. Months passed. Bayona sent one final message and apology, if you could call it that. It was vague, defensive, still full of excuses, but it ended with a sentence I'll never forget. I never thought you'd actually leave. And that, I realized, was the whole problem. She thought I was a man who would endure anything, who would swallow betrayal as long as it was plated nicely, who would walk silently through a collapsing house just to avoid causing a scene. She was wrong. I may be soft. I may cry too easily and avoid confrontation like it's the plague. But I'm not a doormat. I'm not disposable. And I'm done living inside someone else's story. So this is mine now. I live in a smaller apartment. There's no guest bathroom, no crawl space. Just me, a couch that's too soft, and a record player I finally fixed. Sometimes I sit by the window with my morning coffee and watch the sunrise over the rooftops. And I don't wonder if she misses me because I don't miss her. Not anymore.